What's a coral reef? A living rock structure composed largely of calcium carbonate, aragonite, secreted by billions of tiny animals, the coral polyps, Cnidaria, and cemented by coralline algae, foraminifera, and other builders. Over time, centuries to millennia, the accumulation of calcareous skeletons builds a wall that can extend for hundreds of kilometers like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Why do they form? Mutual biological benefit. The polyps host microscopic symbiotic algae, Symbiodiniaceae. The algae, thanks to photosynthesis, give sugars and oxygen to the polyps. The polyps provide carbon dioxide, nutrients, and protection. This symbiosis makes very high productivity even in nutrient-poor waters, the blue deserts. Optimal environmental conditions. Bright light, clear, shallow water, typically 0 to 40 meters, serves the symbiotic algae. Stable and warm temperature, roughly 23 to 29 degrees Celsius, accelerates growth and metabolism. Normal marine salinity and well-oxygenated waters promote calcification. Low sediment and nutrient load. Turbidity suffocates corals. Eutrophication favors competitive filamentous algae. Hydrodynamics and moderate wave motion. It brings food, oxygen, and removes fine sediment. On the outer edges, exposed to the waves, massive and branching corals build the reef crest, which breaks the wave and protects the lagoon behind it. So barriers exist where the funds share in the light range long enough. It takes a combination of increases and decreases of sea level subsidence, sinking of the volcanic or tectonic seabed, and vertical growth capacity of corals. How does it happen? The brick, the octopus. Each polyp secretes at the base a thin layer of CaCO3. Calcification occurs when calcium ions, Ca2+, and carbonate, CO32, combine in a microenvironment that the polyp regulates, slightly higher pH, and high carbonate concentration. Colonies form massive corals, a cupola, branched, acropora at the table, etc. The factory, the symbiosis. Symbiotic algae, with light, they rework waste products into sugars. This energy efficiency allows corals to pay the cost of calcification, which is very expensive. Cement, coralline algae, and caillou. Calcareous coralline algae and other organisms deposit carbonate in the spaces between corals, cementing the structure. In the meantime, bioaerosaurs, parrotfish, sea urchins, drilling sponges gnaw and grind. The eroded material becomes coral sand, which settles in the lagoon. It is a construction site in dynamic equilibrium: construction, accretion, erosion, harsh growing barrier. If erosion exceeds construction, the barrier retreats. Growth and shapes. Growth rates vary from millimeters to centimeters per year depending on the species and conditions. In the long term, 3 major trends emerge. Geomorphological types. Coastal barrier, fringing reef, close to the shore, without a large lagoon. Barrier reef, separated from the coast by a laguna, wide and deep, like Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Atoll, coral ring surrounding a lagoon, typically on a collapsed volcano. Why do barrier reefs with lagoons exist? This is where Darwin's subsidence theory comes in. A young volcanic island is surrounded by a coastal barrier. The island slowly sinks, or the sea level rises. Corals, as long as the light allows, keep growing upwards. If it forms a lagoon between the cliff and the island, barrier reef. The island can disappear below sea level. There remains an atoll. Alternatively or locally, variations of sea level or sedimentation can create or expand lagoons even without great subsidence. A detailed structure of a barrier. Fore reef, out to sea, steep slope, strong wave energy, massive resistant lamellar corals. Reef crest breaks the wave, very compact corals and coralline algae. Back reef, laguna, calmer waters, coral sand, meadows of phanerogame marine, thalassia, halidule, isolated patch reefs, a rich nursery for fish and invertebrates, factors that make them grow or collapse. Positive factors: clear water, light, temperature within range, good water exchange, larval connectivity, currents that bring new larvae, functional biodiversity, builders, plus cementers, plus bioeroders in balance. Negative factors: abnormal heating, whitening, bleaching. The polyps expel the symbionts. If the stress persists, mortality. Acidification reduces the aragonite saturation, preventing calcification. Turbidity, sediment. They suffocate the fabrics, reduce the light. Eutrophication favors opportunistic algae that compete with corals. Overfishing of herbivores, e.g. parrotfish. Algae explode. Illnesses and invasive species, e.g. crown-of-thorns starfish. Barriers resist if they can recover between one stressful event and another. The frequency of stress today is the critical variable. Times and scale: seasonal growth of tissue, deposition of thin calcareous bands, multi-year, colonization of new surfaces, ecological succession from pioneer to massive forms, centuries to millennia, construction of ridges or barriers, formation and partial filling of the lagoon, marine transgression, regression cycles. Why do we care? They defend the coasts, dampening the waves, up to 90% reduction of energy on the crest. They provide fishing and tourism. They host approximately 25% of marine biodiversity while occupying less than 1% of the seabed and create sands for beaches and islands.